And an R&J's Classic Mix, 29 Palms. This is Rockin' Randy. With me tonight is...
The Amazing Moondog.
Okay, and thank you all for listening and joining in. In that set, we also heard from Toto, a little Africa there for you. We heard, of course, the old classic by the Kinks, Lola, Layla. We heard Tony Basil in that set as well with her Mickey. And Moondog, you have a little bit of interesting stories to tell on Tony Basil.
Well, yeah, for all you film buffs out there, you probably already know this, but for some of you might not know, is Tony Basil, who did Hey Mickey, so that classic song from the 1980s. Back in the early 1970s, she worked on a film called American Graffiti, and she was the dance choreographer for that, where she had to instruct all the principals and the extras on how to dance at all the 1960s dances. And who was that film directed by? George Lucas, who went on to do a little movie called Star Wars. You might have heard of it. Anyway.
I digress. Well, that was good. That's interesting stuff, Tony Basil. Now, did she appear in any of the movies herself, or is she just in the background?
I think she might have actually been in, American Graffiti. You might have actually seen her in one of the big dance scenes where there was, a lot of people and stuff, because I know they did some scenes in the high school. I'd have to actually rewatch it to find out. But okay. I think she might have been.
Well, we go to that. We can fill people in next show.
Exactly.
But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Oh, and just kind of an update here on the Rob Ford situation, as nobody believes he is in rehab. Supposedly, later tonight, there's going to be release in the news of the location where he actually is in rehab. So we'll keep you top of that.
Try to make me go to rehab. I said no.
I can't
or
afford
maybe.
I can't afford your bad jokes anymore.
Oh.
No. Anyway, we digress. Back to music and RJ's classic mix of Monsters and Men. Little text. All right, bang it gong. Get it on. T-Rex on RJ's classic music mix. As well. It's Friday Night Boogie, Part 5, with Rockin' Randy and...
The Amazing Moondog!
Moondog, thank you very much. Thank you for that set. In that set, we heard some Dave Edmunds, The Promised Land. We heard from the Beatles, Get Back, and that was their studio recording of the Dead Air session before, where John was supposed to say something and didn't, so we had 10 seconds of dead air there. So we blame that on John Lennon. Anyway, he was supposed to that. Anyway, I digress. Our spotlight band tonight is T-Rex, as you just heard with their Get It On, Bang A Gong. Now, T-Rex was a British rock band formed back in August of '67 by singer, songwriter, and guitarist Mark Bolan, originally under the name of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I have to thank my good friend Rob at work for putting this little mental image in my head of a big dinosaur with these little arms waving back and forth and can't grab anything. So thanks for that, Rob. But anyway, 4 underground albums, underground that is, were released under that longer name. After Solitary performance as a 4-piece at the Electric Garden in Covent Garden, England, the group broke up. From the remnants of the split up, Bolan teamed up with drummer Steve Peregrine Took. Bolan's unique vocal style, combined with Took's talents on the bongo and the use of children's instruments such as the Pixie-phone. And anybody know what a Pixie-phone sounds like? Please
chat us that if you know
Please chat us that if you know what it sounds like. Anyway, but they earned them a hardcore following from the hippie underground scene. They often perform acoustical tributes to then rockers Gene Vincent and Eddie Cochran, best known for his hit Summertime Blues. The duo released 3 albums from between '68 and '69. The third album, Unicorn, almost made it to the UK top 10, but not quite 99.
Missed it by that much.
Bolan abandoned the pop rock style for more dramatic and lush melodies filled with Greek and Persian mythology. The band became regulars on Peel sessions on BBC Radio and toured Britain's student union halls. So we just took a trip down the hall and toured it, and that was it.
Turn around, come back, do it again.
Yeah, did he knock on a couple of lockers? Anyway, okay. So, Moondog, I have a question. How long did you think this seemingly successful relationship between Bolan and Took lasted?
Well, you know what? I don't know. I love T-Rex. I know a lot about them, but I do not know that.
Okay, well, we'll find out a little bit more later in the show. Anyway, I know, we can all wait and anxious. Anyway, back to the music in RJ's Classic Mix. We're going to go back to the 80s a little bit, and this is The Box, Ordinary People.
Like, zoinks! You're listening to R&J's Classic Mix. Right, Scoob? Right, Reggie?
All right, it's Friday Night Boogie on R&J's Classic Mix with Rockin' Randy and the Amazing Moondog. That's me, and the other fellow, he's here too. Anyway, that was Motley Crue's Girls, Girls, Girls. And did you know Motley Crue, huge glam metal band from the 80s, were heavily influenced by the glam sound of the 1970s, which included such bands as our spotlight band tonight, T-Rex. And Motley Crue, the biggest fan of the glam rock scene was Nikki Sixx, who was also the principal songwriter for Motley Crue. And he was also the one that suggested they put on the makeup, the lipstick, the hairspray, but he didn't originate that. That came back from early in the 70s from our spotlight band. And here's Rockin' Randy to tell us some more about them.
Well, thanks, Moondog, and you're right. That is nice to hear because, like I say, T-Rex had an influence on a lot of bands besides Motley Crue, and it's just good to know. Thank you. Now, you'd asked me earlier, I'd asked you earlier, how long do you think this little relationship between Took and Bolan lasted?
Yeah.
Well, it might not that long. By 1969, things began falling apart. Bolan preferred the more serene lifestyle with his girlfriend, laid back, take it easy, sit on the couch, watch movies, cuddle, stuff like that. While Took, he went and frolicked in the anti-commercial and drug-filled world of the United Kingdom Underground. Won't say bloke, can have a smoke. Sort of thing like that, stuff like that. So Took also began writing his own songs and wanted to perform them on the upcoming fourth album, only to be rebuffed by Bolan. Interesting to say, now, George Harrison of the Beatles kind of went through that too, because Lennon McCartney dominated all the albums, and George was a little sarcastic, little peeved because just I get my usual one song to write on the album, and it was it sort of thing. So you kind of maybe understand how Took felt about that. So in retaliation, Took his drums, vocals. I got to take those with you anyway because they're kind of stuck in there, and 2 songs, and performed them on the Twinks' Think Pink album. Needless to say, this was the beginning of the end for the duo. However, they were still forced by contract to do a U.S. tour, which was very, very poorly planned, and doomed from the beginning. They were stuck with electric pop bands and stuff like that, and they weren't playing that kind of style, so they just kind of, faded into the distance. So, upon returning back to England, Bolan replaced Took with Mickey Finn.
That guy I know.
Yeah, that's right. And completed the 4th album, A Beard of Stars.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the final album under the name of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And why was that the last album? Well, producer Tony Visconti supposedly, this is alleged and all that good stuff. If you watch Law and Order and stuff like that, you understand what alleged means.
Boom, boom.
Got fed up with writing the name out in full on little studio chits, little notes to people saying, Tyrannosaurus Rex, you're doing this wrong. So he began to put down T-Rex. Well, Bolan first noticed this, was angry, but later claimed, the idea was mine. Of course, okay.
Rock stars.
Okay. So then Bolan, at this time now, began experimenting with more electric guitars, rock sounds, which paved the way for a more successful career. Kind of thinking, okay, this is all the other bands are doing, maybe I should do it. Now, interesting to note here, Moondog, because Finn's vocals weren't as strong as Took's, Bolan would double track his own vocals to use as a background.
Ha!
Can you name me another famous band from the 70s that one guy did all the vocals?
Can I think about it for a little while?
Yeah, you can get back to it. Actually, it was Boston.
Of course it was. Those guys are epic enough.
Epic enough, yeah. That's
wow,
right. Okay.
I did not know that.
Okay. Now, this new pop-oriented sound paved the way for T-Rex's success. And with the single Ride a White Swan reaching the number 2 in 1970, the switch to electric sound caused a backlash among some of Bolan's hardcore fans, accusing them of selling out, much like Metallica went through when they released their Black album. Remember those days, people smashing their things on the road and things like that because they didn't like Metallica going Black album and doing this music stuff?
I totally remember that.
That's right. Anyway, we're going to continue on R&J's Classic Mills, Rockin' Randy, the Moondog with you, and this is Ride Like a White Swan, T-Rex. And now, with the latest in news and weather, here's Norman Herman and Dr. Strangelove, only on the Mix.
Good evening. You're listening to R&J's Classic Mix News. I'm Norman Herman, reporting. A man who appeared on a Turkish television dating program revealed that he had murdered his wife and another former lover. Sefer Kalanak, age 62, told Flash TV's Walk of the Dwa that he had killed his first wife because he was irritated by her behavior, and that he had murdered a subsequent partner because he thought she was after his money. Kalanak was asked to leave the program, which brought rousing applause from the live studio audience. There are reports that Toronto Mayor Rob Ford may not actually be in rehab. It's been stated on Twitter that he's been seen in a Toronto area Tim Hortons. Mayor Ford laughed off these rumors and claims to be at an undisclosed location, which he describes as being a rehab center. It is unknown if he's currently in Canada or elsewhere, or even if he is in an inpatient program. A New Brunswick woman got more than she paid for when she found a 5-centimeter long worm in a can of store-bought peas. Weena Corbin said she saw the worm climb out of the bowl she had just poured the peas into. It made me completely lose my appetite, said Corbin, and she hopes parent company General Mills adopts more stringent hygiene practices. As for this reporter, I have never been a fan of canned peas, and now you can rest assured I will never be trying them again. That's all for now. This is Norman Herman reporting for R&J's Classic Mix. Stay tuned for Dr. Strangelove with the weather.
Hello again, this is Dr. Strangelove, your friendly R&J's Classic Mix meteorologist. Let's get straight to the weather. Starting in the west, Victoria and Vancouver tomorrow will both be 14 degrees Celsius and both sunny. Edmonton is 12 degrees and sunny, but Calgary, chilly, 6 degrees and showers. In Saskatoon, 18 degrees and partly cloudy. In Regina, 20 degrees, but showers. In Winnipeg, 16 degrees and sunny, but, Winnipeg, we know what's happening at this time of year. The mosquitoes are breeding and hatching, so watch out for all those filthy little blood-sucking parasites. In beautiful eastern Ontario, we have Toronto will be 18 degrees, sunny, but has a possibility of showers. Kingston, Ottawa, and the region, 18 degrees and overcast. On the east coast, Fredericton, very, very nice, 17 degrees and sunny. Halifax, 11 degrees and sunny. Charlottetown, 13 degrees and sunny. So, hey, things are pretty sunny out there. It's about time, isn't it? That's all for now.
Now?
Friday Night Boogie! So put on some big shoes and dance!
And now, it's time for another review with the amazing Moondog.
This week, the good, the bad, the ugly gets caught in the web of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with me, your friendly neighborhood Moondog. Peter Parker returns as the Amazing Spider-Man and unlocks more secrets from the past, takes on 3 menacing new villains, and tries to keep things together with his true love, Gwen Stacy. This movie is actually the 5th Spider-Man feature film released by Sony, and it's the follow-up to the rebooted franchise which kicked off in 2012. I gotta admit, I originally wasn't too keen on seeing a reboot of the Spider-Man origin so soon after Sam Raimi's trilogy, but The Amazing Spider-Man exceeded my expectations and was a solid film which sets up this second entry in the franchise, which I think I actually enjoyed more than the first. So, let's break it down. What's good? First of all, I'm going to give Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone 2 Moondog paws up for their performances as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Now, these kids' portrayal of one of Marvel Comics' most tragic love stories comes across as so genuine, you'd think they were drawn by John Romita and walked right off the comic book page. They really are the heart and soul of this franchise, and the realism of their performances really grounds what would otherwise be a truly outlandish movie. I'm going to recommend this movie and suggest you all go out and see it in the IMAX 3D version. It really is a spectacle. The scenes of Spidey web swinging across the Big Apple are really some of the most exhilarating things I've ever seen on a movie screen. So, what's bad? This sequel introduces us to Harry Osborn as played by a young actor named Dane DeHaan. And this guy does a great job in the role as the creepy son of dying Oscorp CEO Norman Osborn. My target for what's bad is actually more directed at the first movie for not introducing this major character, or at least mentioning his existence. It's hard to buy the friendship between Harry and Peter when we don't get a lot of time to know Harry. And lastly, what's ugly about The Amazing Spider-Man 2? I gotta admit, it really surprised me. The worst thing about this movie was Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon, aka Electro. Before being transformed into the supercharged Electro by being bitten by mutant electric eels, yes, mutant electric eels, Fox's performance as the Spidey-stalking Max Dillon is a walking cliché, with nerdy glasses, comb-over hair,
And then when he becomes Electro, he delivers an over-the-top portrayal and delivers the type of dialogue that hasn't been seen in the likes of a comic book movie since the days of Batman and Robin and George Clooney's rubber nipples. It's the strength of the rest of the film as a whole that makes me look forward to the next entry to see the epic story unfold that the filmmakers are setting up. I just hope they leave Jamie Foxx out the next time. So that's it for now. Catch you next time on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Children of the Revolution, T-Rex.
Yeah, baby!
You betcha. You're listening to RNJ's Classic Mix Friday night. Welcome to the weekend. Boogie Night Part 5. How you doing, Moondog?
I'm doing fan-freaking-tastic.
That's right. Thank you for those that tune in and listen to us. Anyway, our Spotlight? What is this Spotlight anyway? Spotlight. Sounds like a beer commercial.
That's me in the corner. Yeah. That's me in the spotlight.
No. Spotlight.
Spat. Like spats?
Yeah, it's a new beer. It's a Spotlight. Anyway, we digress. So, back to T-Rex. Okay, now, another interesting tidbit, Moondog, is that Mark Bolan, met his wife, June, when she's working in the office of another famous band that was into a lot more artsy rock and stuff like that, and people did things to enhance themselves to like the music, but it featured David Gilmour and Roger Waters.
Who might that be?
Pink Floyd. He would often drop by, visit, sit on the floor with his guitar, and sing to her. Lullabies. Now, as the band's success grew, a full band, which featured bassist Steve Curry and drummer Bill Legend, was formed.
Got really cool.
Yeah, that's right. And they were formed to tour to growing, massive audiences. Bolan took to wearing top hats and feathered bows on stage, as well as putting drops of glitter on each of his cheeks. Now, stories are conflicting about his inspiration for this. Some say it was introduced by his assistant, Shalita Secunda. Say that backwards. Although Bolan told John Pidgeon in a 1974 interview that he noticed the glitter on his wife's dressing room table prior to a photo session and casually daubed some on his face. Thus, Moondog begat the birth of glitter rock. Or as John Lennon put it, it was effing on rock and roll with lipstick. Little bitter there, were we, Lennon? Now, in September of 1971, T-Rex released their second album, Electric Warrior, and is considered by many to be their best album.
It's so good.
It is. It included their best-known hit, Get On, where it reached the top 10 in the U.S. in January of 1972. There, the song was retitled Bang a Gong, Get It On, so as not to confuse it with a 1971 by the band Chase. You ever heard of them?
Nope.
Neither have I. We'll have to chase after that on Google. After his contract lapsed, Bolan left Fly Records, who released his track Jeepster without his permission. Bolan then signed with EMI and was given his own record label in the UK, T-Rex Record, the T-Rex Wax Company. We'll have more on T-Rex later.
All right, you're listening to Friday Night Boogie on R&J's Classic Mix. That was Brit Floyd with Mother, which brings us to a couple of subjects tonight.
Mother's Day?
Mother's Day is one of them, yes. We're steadily approaching, on Sunday will be Mother's Day. So that's kind of why we're tackling two subjects in one tonight. Philosophizing with Floyd and Tell Me About Your Mother.